tickets or call them at 466-4938.
And welcome to another episode of Thought That Get Results. I'm Webbo Herbert, and as per usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to a Let's Talk program in K of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, you can also participate by looking at our Facebook channel, Vaughan Radio, or YouTube, our Facebook page on Vaughan Radio, and our YouTube channel at Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. Tonight, Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I want to say a special good evening to those who are listening near and far via the various medias. Special good evening to you and welcome. Webbo, I would like to say special birthday greetings to all who may be celebrating. This is the first day of April, and those who would have celebrated the latter part of March. I want to say happy belated birthday to my son, Rajan. He celebrated yesterday. I'm sure that he had a wonderful time on his birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Rajan. Webbo, I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion as always. But of course, I want to say to those who might be mourning to hold on to God. He's one that is going to comfort you in this most difficult time. So hold on to God, pray, and of course we would pray to and ask God to help you, and of course to help all of us. Webbo, again, as I always say, Webbo, this is a program that is basically everyone's program, so we're asking those who are listening and viewing to call in. You may learn something from us, and of course we can learn something from you. And again, Webbo, I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion. Webbo, I want to thank you yet again for the invitation, and just before I close out my opening, Webbo, I want to invite persons, or just to remind persons that our camp, the Jerry and Ursula Fifield Easter Memorial Camp, starts on the 16th of this month, April, and it runs through to the 21st of April 2025. We want to remind those who would have filled forms, registration forms, that the deadline would have been yesterday, the 31st, but if we still have forms, we are asking you kindly to hand in your form. It's really important that you hand in your forms. This would give us a better idea of the number of persons who are coming to camp, the age range, the gender and stuff like that, so we can get more into planning of everything in terms of activities. Of course, we have some core activities, but in terms of other activities, and you may have special needs in terms of eating, you may be allergic to something, so we could know how to shop and stuff like that. So it's very important. This is not just we are saying to hand in the forms just because we want to say it, but of course, as I said, we have to plan accordingly. And I want to take the opportunity also, Webbo, to say to all and sundry, we are open in terms of if you want to come down to the Huggins Bay, you can come anytime and visit. We just ask that once you are on the camp compound that you respect the camp rules. We, even if you're a parent, if you come, we ask kindly, you come and you check in with whoever is in charge at that particular point in time. If you want to take your child for whatever reason, we ask kindly not to come and just take your child. But as always, you would have complied and you speak to whoever is in charge at that particular time. And of course, we would sign out your child and stuff like that, because we have to be accountable to you who are in charge of the various children, whether it's the father, the mother, or whomever that person may be. So we want to be accountable and accountable. So we ask, kindly, it's going to be a fun camp as per usual. Some of the core activities, Webbo, if I may just go into it quickly. This year we're starting on the Wednesday. Why the Wednesday? Because school would be out. And then the Thursday we're going to have the opening ceremony, and we're going to have some activities, some educational sessions throughout the Thursday. The Friday we normally go on a hike. We'll be hiking. We're going to come back. We're going to go do traditional dish, sugar cake, kanki, cassava bread making and so forth, kite making. We're going to have kite flying. The Saturday we're going to clean the Huggins Bay area. That's right on the beach. Some people call it the bay, the shoreline. We're going to clean that area this time around. And we're also going to visit the sick and the shut-in and the elderly in the surrounding area from New River going right back to Hickman's and Fottergills. We would visit them that Saturday morning, and we would not just visit them, but we're going to sing with them, we are going to pray with them, and we are going to give them, a small token of our appreciation. They are persons who would have contributed immensely to society, and we want to show them love. We want to show them that we do care and we respect and value what they would have done to help to mold us. There's a saying that the village raise a child, and we want to give back to them in a tangible way. So we are going to be doing that this Saturday. In the afternoon, amongst other things, we're going to have tie-dye competition. We're going to be preparing for our big sports meet on Sunday, and especially this Sunday, the sports meet, Webbo, we're asking all to come. Webbo, it's a camp, and it is not luxury. There's no current. We'll be camping on the seaside, and for those who are concerned about security, of course, we would have spoken to the police, and the police, they normally come around, they don't have a set time. They come around a couple of times during the day, a couple of times during the night, unannounced, and we are aware because we would have spoken to them, as I said. So persons who may have concerns in terms of security, or persons who may have ulterior motive, we're asking if you have ulterior motives to keep them to yourselves, and please don't come. Webbo, first call is at 5:30 at mornings. Second call is 5:45, and the third and final whistle at morning is 5 minutes to 6. At that point in time, you would have, or you should have already, get up, get dressed for exercise. You would have already washed your mouth and stuff like that. We would have a roll call to make sure that everyone is present. If anyone is sick, that message would be relayed in terms if you are in your tent and you're sick or something like that. And then we will do exercise. We would go for a little jog. We would come back. We would have devotions. After devotions, we would have persons who are assigned for kitchen duties would be doing kitchen duties, and we would also have persons who are helpers in terms of cleaning the kitchen area and washing dishes and stuff like that. And that happens every morning, with the exception of Friday, meaning we would not have any PE the Friday because we'll be going on a hike. And the Sunday, we would not have any devotions on the campsite because we'll be going to church. We will be We would be worshiping with one of the churches in the Gingerland area. I'm not one to say which church yet because we are still, in discussion with the particular church. So, but we would be worshiping with a particular church. We also, we have incentives for persons. We have a most helpful camper. We have the camper of the year. Normally, the camper of the year would get their registration waived for the next year, and other small tokens, other small gifts and stuff like that, along with the best helper, the most helpful, that person would also get some small tokens and incentives and stuff like that. So we're asking all to if you haven't already signed up, at least next year, what it's about, the Jerry and Ursula Fifield Easter Memorial Camp happening over the Easter weekend every year. It's been going on for a number of years, Webbo. It's been going on before my time. I think I've been in charge of the camp for maybe a little over 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years, somewhere around there. We had our biggest numbers, Webbo, in 2019, just before the pandemic. We had 105 campers, and then after the pandemic, it went down. The first camp after the pandemic, it went down to 45. And if memory serves me right, I think last year might have been, in the 90s. So we are building, and we are anticipating that this year it is going to be over 100 campers having clean fun in the wild, in the open. We are camping under tents. There is no house, there is no electricity, as I said. So persons, it's a good way of the younger persons to have a feel of what used to happen in yesteryear. I can recall that some years ago a camper said, I never bathed in a bucket. They never bathed in a bucket of water, so they don't know what it's like and stuff. So it's really an experience. It's really an experience, and we want persons to, have that experience. It's not a fault of yours because you were born in this particular era. So all we are saying that we want to share those experiences with you. We have certain things we do on Tristone, the Firestone. Certain things we do on Coalpat. And yes, we do have a gas stove, but we do certain things and certain activities, Webbo, so they could understand what it was back then. So once again, Webbo, I want to thank you for the time for me to basically just speak, about the camp, and thanks for listening and viewing persons, audience. And we are hoping that if you are not part of the camp, they say that you'll be part of the camp next year. And of course, persons who are sponsoring, we are happy with. We thank you. And if you haven't been contacted and you feel like sponsoring, fine. A lady met me sometime, and the lady asked, how much for the camp? And I said $50 per person. And she said, $50? That's cheap. And considering that you for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, you're getting, barring Wednesday you'll get supper, and the days onwards to Sunday you get breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, and of course Monday you would have breakfast, and then after breakfast and the devotion, devotion and breakfast, we break down and you go to your various homes. So persons, if you are listening, you are viewing, and you want to make a contribution, as I said just earlier, a lady would have said to me that I want to sponsor 2 persons, and she would have contributed, make a contribution to sponsor 2 persons who might be less fortunate, for them so that they can go to the camp and have that experience. So we are asking all who are listening, all who are viewing, please to contribute. Yes, it's just $50 per person, and we know that it's small, but we try to keep it at that price, so as many persons could come and get the experience. So that's the main reason. Thank you once again, Webbo, for the invitation to be here and to speak via this medium.
The Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my fellow panelists. Let me say good evening to your hardworking staff here at Vaughan Radio, and good evening to all those who are listening here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and certainly throughout the various islands of the Caribbean, to those who are listening further afield, up north, down south, wherever they may be, whether it's morning or evening or afternoon. A very wonderful and pleasant greetings to you. Well, I want to say an extra special good evening to Mr. Ted Theodore Hobson, Casey. I hope he's doing well. I haven't spoken to him for the last for a little while. I also want to say good evening to Conrad Naya-Liberd. I hope as well that he is doing okay. And good evening to those two gentlemen. Webbo, I want to thank you for the invitation tonight, and I want to start by offering my condolences to the number of families who are in mourning tonight. I believe that as we continue to grapple with the reality of losing a loved one, oftentimes it is a shock, oftentimes it is a traumatic experience, oftentimes it leaves persons in a state of depression. But I want to say to all those families who are in mourning tonight, I hope that they can remember their loved one, their friend, their colleague with fond memories, and I hope that as they reflect and as they mourn, that they would find some peace and comfort in knowing that that individual would have come, would have contributed, would have participated and made their contribution to humanity. So I want to offer my condolences to all those who are hearing my voice and who are in a state of mourning tonight. Webbo, I also want to offer congratulations and birthday greetings to all those who are celebrating, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life. I certainly are hoping that they are enjoying a wonderful, wonderful evening. I want to particularly say happy birthday to my son, Stedway, who will be celebrating his birthday tomorrow. I can't believe that tomorrow he will be 33 already. It was almost like yesterday when he came into this world. So I just wanted to say to him and to all those who are celebrating that I hope that they are having a wonderful time. I hope that they will enjoy their birthday, and I hope that certainly with God's grace and with God's mercy that they would be around for quite some time. Webbo, I want to end my introduction by thanking you for this invitation, and I am indeed looking forward to tonight's discussion.
What else we got?
Webbo, sports is in the year, and
I got something other than sports, but we'll talk about sports and then we will get and the back end of everything, because I seriously want to have a discussion on the things that on an everyday basis people talk about. Because it seems to me that I mentioned something this morning on my other show, but go ahead, Roger, and we'll explore that with the sports and how healthy it is and so on and so forth, and then on the back end we can come to that.
yes, Webbo, as I was saying, sports is in the primary schools on Nevis. They would have completed their various sporting activities in terms of athletics, and now the big inter-primary school championship will be held tomorrow at the Nevis Athletics Stadium, Mondochak, NAS. I call it NAS, and of course, I think over the years when it was held at the ET Willett Park, there were 8 schools that competed, and at some point in time at the Mondo Chak, there were 9 schools. I think it might have been the 8th school that normally competed along with the Montessori and the Nevis Academy. They were combined at one point in time. And now this year, for the very first time, there are 10 teams competing. The Nevis Academy and the Montessori are now competing on their own. So there's 10 teams, and I think that it's going to be a real big event. It's an event that most persons look towards, and the government would have recognized that, and for a number of years they would have been given a half holiday for persons to attend. I think I want to congratulate the organizers. I think that what I can recall hearing on the news, I think it was, that the Cicely Brown Integrated School, they too they'll be getting an opportunity to showcase their talent. There would be an exhibition there,
yeah.
So they will not be competing, but at least, they will be able to get a chance to show their mettle, show their talent on the big stage. So I want to say kudos to the organizers. I think that this was very thoughtful of them. We cannot afford to leave anyone out. We must be all inclusive and, try to showcase as many talents as possible, no matter what, Webbo. So I know that it's been really heating up. I think, if memory serves me right, the Charlestown Primary School, they are the defending champions, and last year I think they 5-peat, and no doubt this year they will be looking to win on a six consecutive championship. The other schools no doubt would be thinking differently, so I know that it's going to be really big, Webbo. And once again I want to say congratulations to the organizers. I think that the meet is really living up to expectation.
Webbo, I want to join with Roger and first of all congratulate the organizers of this event. It is a highly anticipated event here on the calendar of the island of Nevis. So highly anticipated that the country is shut down for half a day. And I think that goes well, Webbo, to the popularity of this particular event. Roger indicated that the Charlestown Primary is going for 6-peat. I have a slightly different set of information, but we can debate that a little later. I think that for the last 4 years they would have been victorious, and we are hoping that tomorrow they would make it 5. But that is the information that I have. But Webbo, I want to, Roger, raise the matter of the Cicely Brown school participating. I think that is, in my mind, a very good move, a very timely move, because some of these children, Webbo, often participated in the special Olympics event, and we are hoping that with this kind of additional exposure will give them the additional boost, additional courage, that when they go to those specialized events, that they can do extremely well, as they have been doing over the years. Webbo, I think that sports on the island of Nevis, in my mind, have come a mighty long way. I believe that all of the schools engage in some form of sporting activity, whether it's track and field, football. We are seeing once again the emergence of netball in the various communities. And I'm thinking, Webbo, that these kind of sporting activities, not only for inter-primary, but it's also lend a much healthier community. The more we are involved in sporting activities, the more we are involved in these kind of activity, will not only build that camaraderie and that relationship amongst the children, one, because this is a child friendly event, but also it gives our children the opportunity to showcase their talent, to put on display their various skills, And I'm hoping that Webbo, tomorrow we will see the whole of Nevis and our friends as well from St. Kitts come and support our children. I believe that the organizers, in my mind, continue to do what I think is a remarkable job in hosting this event year after year. I am hoping and praying that we won't have any undue incidents tomorrow or any injuries. I know that the security forces will be there to make sure that none of that occur. And even if there is any attempt, that they will deal with it as expeditiously as possible. I also know that we will be having on standby the various medical team, Red Cross nurses, to ensure that if there is any injury or if there is any incidents of illness or anything that occur, not only with our children but with the general public, that it can be taken care of as well. I want to say to all of us and to the whole of Nevis to go on out and support our children. I believe that they have done remarkably well. They continue to make us proud, and I am hoping that at the end of the day, the team that perform best on the day will be the champion.
Yes, Webbo, I too, I want to say in advance, congratulations to all the team, and we must remember that, every individual, every athlete, every student, you are a winner just by virtue that you can represent your school. There are so many other students who cannot even make their house team for the various schools. So if you would have made your house team and now your school team, I think that in itself is an accomplishment and you must be proud. So I want to congratulate you for making your school team. I want to make an appeal, Webbo, to the parents and the adults. Please allow the children to showcase their talent. Your school may not win, but remember that all of the athletes that are representing the school, they are children, and we must try our endeavor best to encourage them, to inspire them, to motivate them. We ought not to utter any words to demotivate them. I believe that amongst ourselves as adults, we're going to have maybe bantering talks amongst ourselves, but I do not believe that those utterances that we should utter them to the students. Whichever school, let us just encourage all of them, because when it is all said and done, these children would grow up, they would move on to character and further afield, and then they are the same set of children, the same set of people that we'll be rooting for, because they would now be representing Nevis. So we want us all to give them our fullest support tomorrow, and not just tomorrow, but every day. They are the present and they are the future. And adults, again, I want us to give all the children the encouragement that they so richly deserve.
Well, I want to certainly endorse what Roger just indicated. I think that it is no secret that this kind of event often brings out the hype in the parents, and I think that if they are able to enjoy the activity and contain themselves, I think we will have a very wonderful and exciting event tomorrow. We are hoping and praying for fair weather. I know we have had some showers over the last few days, some windy conditions, but I'm hoping that tomorrow we will see a good and acceptable weather condition for this kind of event. And at the end of the day, I'm hoping that everyone would go out and enjoy themselves. Webbo, I want to put something else on the table. I know you said you have a particular topic that you want to bring to the fore, but before we get to that, Webbo, if you don't mind, I've picked up an article from the St. Vincent Times, dated on March 29, 2025. With the heading, EU Parliament passes new CBI regulation for Caribbean nations. And I just want to read, Webbo, just a brief section of it, with your permission. The European Parliament's Committee on Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs has approved amendments to the European Union visa regulations that could potentially end visa-free access to EU for countries running citizenship by investment program in the Caribbean. The article went on to say, Webbo, that this could potentially threaten the visa-free access to the EU for several third countries offering citizenship in exchange for investment, including the 5 Caribbean nations: Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia. Webbo, just one other section of the article. The European Parliament's report suggests suspending visa exemption for third countries operating these schemes, which grant citizenship without any link to the third country concerned. However, it's an article that I thought that was that we in these parts ought to probably pay some attention to, and we all know that this citizenship by investment program throughout have brought in some significant revenues for these various countries. We also know, Webbo, that countries have been blacklisted because of this kind of activity that they are engaged in, the citizenship by investment. We also know, Webbo, that over the years we have received many challenges as it regards to the operation and the functions of the citizenship by investment initiative throughout the region. And I think that this is another, in my mind, another attempt to try and curtail this citizenship by investment program, based on the presentation from the Prime Minister just recently. We have seen that the inflows of this program have significantly been reduced, and I am sensing, Webbo, that this kind of move, so to speak, by the EU can add another layer of challenge to this particular program. I am hoping, Webbo, that whatever the concern is, whatever concern that the EU has regarding this program here in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the region, that those concerns would be met, they would be mitigated against, to ensure that these countries can have some semblance of this program still. I believe that it has been a program that has brought some significant development in these countries, and many countries throughout the world have some form of citizenship by investment program, even the great United States. And I'm hoping, Webbo, that once this threat, so to speak, maps out, that all will be well for our citizenship by investment program, not only here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but throughout the region.
Yeah, Webbo, I want to believe that, we, as the so-called third world countries, and specifically the 5 countries that were outlined by Mr. Brand, we have been competing in terms of getting persons to join the various CBI programs. But I believe that this, I want to call it a force, by the EU. I believe that we have to find some common ground in terms of how we can unite to combat this threat. I believe that I would have heard the Premier saying something to the effect that the proceeds from the CBI program would, brings in a significant amount of revenue, both at the federal level and at what we get from it, a very significant amount to the NIA. And I want to believe that the same goes out for all of the Caribbean countries, Antigua, Dominica, and the others. And hence the reason why I'm saying this, I believe that we have to find some common ground, to try and combat, this action that the EU now want to take against us in order for our program to continue to grow and to be sustainable. If not, I believe that we would probably have to start looking for, another mean, another source. And one of the other means or source, Webbo, that we probably need to capitalize on, so to speak. When we look at these persons who would have bought passports, many of them have never visited St. Kitts Nevis before. And many of them, are millionaires. I believe that we need to probably take another approach. We need to probably meet with some of them, 5, 6, possibly more. Have a serious sit down and talk with them and ask them if they can come and set up some businesses, some physical businesses here in St. Kitts Nevis. And this would give rise to employment, depend on the nature of the business. If it's, let's say, manufacturing, we would be able to export, certain things, whatever is being manufactured and stuff like that.
So Roger, you don't know that has been happening already, some of the setting of businesses?
Well, probably more need to be set up.
Work with So you don't know that has started already?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not it's getting any pushback from the nationals like me and you?
Well, Webbo, they are pushback for whatever reason.
Okay.
For whatever reason. And sorry.
So when you invite those 5 or 6 and you tell them to set up some business, and then there is pushback, and then they say, but we're getting some pushback, how would you respond?
Well, we have to understand that in life, there's basically 2 sides in life. There's a positive side and there's a negative side. I don't want to say there's a good side and there's a bad side. And even with the human psyche, the human makeup, an individual, we have a quote-unquote a good side and a bad side. What really ought to happen here is that the good side ought to outshine the bad side. Meaning, if we really want to see progress and meaningful progress, and we understand what is going on, I believe that, and we love Nevis, all of us, nationals, non-national, citizens, residents. We ought to want the best for Nevis. There might be...
Help me, Mr. Brown. You're responding to the question I asked?
Yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
There might be small talks, or even bigger talks, in terms of what is going on and what would be going on. But I believe that it is incumbent on those in office to speak to the masses, let the masses know. I'm not saying that is not happening, don't get me wrong, but continuous speaking, continuous showing us what the prospects are in terms of this particular investment or these set of investments, and then how it would be able to benefit the country on a whole. And I believe once that is out there and it's established, I believe that we are understanding people and we ought to understand what is happening. So the pushback, I think, would eventually die. A natural death.
Bram,
yes, Webbo.
Help shed some light on the same thing.
I find, Webbo, that while we as a small island state often seek to attract quote-unquote investment, both local and foreign, it often baffles me, Webbo, because Roger indicated that we all love Nevis. And I often wonder that when some of these same individuals who come to Nevis, or to go to St. Kitts, or to go to Antigua, or Dominica, or St. Vincent, and they try to make investment, he used what I would call a kind of perhaps a kind of tame language, pushback. The reality is, Webbo, that sometimes there is strong opposition to some of these individuals coming into a country to make investment, for one reason or the other. A lot of it, sadly, has to do with politics. Sometimes we hear persons, and I'm going to use Roger's own word, sometimes we hear persons seek to denigrate these individuals, say all manner of evil against these individuals because of politics. And I am not going to argue with someone if they have a different or varied political view to me or to my party on an issue. But when we are trying to attract investors, local, foreign, to try and help develop the country, and they come into the country, then we get this kind of harsh treatment sometimes in the name of politics. I think, Webbo, that the appeal that we continue to make for some of these individuals to come to, and we are using the St. Kitts and Nevis context, to come to St. Kitts and Nevis to, and the Premier made that appeal at his recent press conference. I think that he alluded to the fact that why are we still wrestling with trying to find new persons to take up our citizenship when we have thousands and thousands of these individuals who are already citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, who have never seen St. Kitts and Nevis, who are wealthy individuals, who have, based on the information that we know of some of these individuals, are high network individuals why is it that we aren't attracting them? Or why is it that we aren't persuading them and getting them to come to this country? The Prime Minister, the Premier, and a delegation was recently in Nigeria, and that I know was also a conversation. There are Nigerians who have St. and Nevis passport. There are persons in Nigeria who are extremely wealthy, who have vast network, significant investment in various disciplines. And I think that the idea is that while we continue to seek to develop this country, we can do, in my mind, perhaps a better job of attracting them. Some people, in my mind, Webbo, are only in love with their country when their party or the persons whom they support is in government. And I think that if we are honest enough, that is something that we ought not to encourage. I believe that if we are serious about developing our country, if we are serious about building up these islands, we can have the political argument and debate and so on. But when it comes to national development, when it comes to trying to create an environment for employment, when it comes to trying to ensure that we provide the necessities for our people, then I believe that whether you are in government or out of government, whether your party is in or your party is not in, we should all be singing from the same chord. We can have a different view of how we do it, but when it comes to getting it done, we should have that one voice. Webbo.
You spoke glowingly about these investments, and you realize that has been the strategy for the Caribbean islands for as long as maybe we can remember when we were going to school.
Yes.
And that is why the rhetoric or the cliche of direct foreign investment,
yes,
almost everybody knows that, and I doubt half of us know what it means, right? But that is what we hear. So everybody who gets into a leadership position in politics and stuff like that, you hear them talking about we need direct foreign investments, etc., etc., etc. And as a consequence of that, 50, 60, 70 years down, where some of these islands have been independent, how well have we done with these direct foreign investments? Because and we're still talking about it, and so that's the question: how well have we done in that regard? On the contrary, is it not correct to say that, fairly or not, the local persons, as part of their pushback, complain that they don't get the attention and necessary assistance because we are always focusing on foreign direct investment? For instance, you have we may have certain rules or laws that may be discouraging for a person to operate a business. A foreign direct investor may come and point that out to, let's say, Roger, because Roger is in government, so that I don't say Mr. Brand and he takes it personal. And when he goes to Roger, if necessary, goes into Parliament and corrects that language so that that person can move forward. But then I want to do basically the same thing. And I tell Roger that this thing is very, discouraging. And Roger says to me, but that's the law. We can't do anything about it. Isn't that correct in some instances?
Well, but you are correct, and let us not shy away from it. You are correct. But well, I just spoke about direct foreign investment.
So just let me finish off this point then in asking the question. So therefore, maybe if we begin to treat the local nationals, if we want to use that term, now, I mean, with fairness and stuff like that, equity, maybe they can do some of that same investment and move the economy along, maybe not in as boisterous or large a way as the other people who, you know, you all may claim may have much more money. But every little helps.
Well, but you're correct. Every little helps. I want to point out two things, though, Webbo. While we are on the matter of direct foreign investment, I believe that perhaps the strategy of all countries, and especially small island developing states, is to try as much as possible and as far as possible to, as it were, to bring new money into the country, new investment into the country. That, Webbo, is not to say that the various incentives and concessions are not available.
Right, I understand the theory, you know.
Yeah.
What I asked was, but I'm a person who believes in the practical too.
Yes.
So what the question I asked was, how well have we done with that policy over the past 50 or 60 years?
Well, but perhaps not as well as I think that the region could have done. I want to put a caveat here, the Webbo.
No, I'm not saying to do away with it.
No.
All I'm saying is that we've been harping about this thing, and it's not working. This might be a right moment. Well, let me get this first. Good evening, thank you for... Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Yes.
Good evening.
I think if we look at the region as a whole, you realize that the model for development that has been more successful, if you have to look at it in terms of standard of living, etc., those kinds of things, has been places like Turks and Caicos, Cayman Islands, Bermuda, and essentially they're tourism and financial services based. Okay? And so I'm wondering, what is it, why is it we cannot emulate that model? Of course, there is the attraction among those in particular, and I guess you can include Anguilla in that. The attraction may be that they are all essentially colonies of the metropolitan, well, specifically England, okay? And that might give them an advantage. But there's no reason there's something that we have, for instance, I don't think, I think we might be one of the few jurisdictions, or the only jurisdiction in the region that do not have personal income tax, for instance. Why can't we leverage things like those to follow a similar model, right? Because as much as we decry things like tourism and even financial services and say we're at the mercy of the metropole, the fact is they have, for all these years, those countries have been doing, those entities have been doing pretty well, okay? And we have not yet found something that can do any better. So I'm saying that while I agree, and I'm not sure how do we leverage the number of citizens that we have now, because if, for instance, we say we're going to tax them, right? They may just give up their citizenship, right? So I'm not sure we have a lot of options in that direction.
Caller, can I make a point and ask a question on the point you just made?
Sure.
So what do you think will be the fallout if you tax them and they give up their citizenship?
Well, with the thousands that they have, I don't think all would. So we we'll still make some money from it, because if you write in your opening statement and there is a big downturn in the industry.
You mean in new ones?
In new ones, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So if you tax the current ones and they give up their citizenship, you are suggesting that it will discourage new ones from becoming citizens?
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
Because when they see, obviously, when they see what has happened there,
Mm-hmm.
they might say they're next.
Okay.
Plus, remember, there's still competition
Mm-hmm.
among the other in the five, right? They might not follow the same route. So we're really between a rock and a hard place, and I don't know. Somebody, I guess, might have to come up with something different, just like how we were able to come up with the citizenship thing. There might be something out there that somebody can come up with that would make us unique and pretty much offer, at least for a while, something that the other countries don't have, right? Because the others were late in coming on to the citizenship industry, if you want to call it that, right? Since we had it from the start, it was really only recently that it really exploded. So there's no reason why we can't come up with something. And geothermal, to me, offers that something else. And I don't think we have been proactive enough in trying to push it forward. We've heard all the excuses, yes. But you can't tell me, if you had somebody in Nevis who was pushing this, that it couldn't happen, despite whatever impediments might have been in the way. And I mean, I heard on CNN just over the weekend gone there, where the drill baby drill mantra may actually be helping to promote geothermal in other areas of the world. And Donald Trump, in his executive orders, made sure that while he is doing away with the what do you call them, the things that would make the concessions, I think they would be the right word, for things like wind and solar, he left out geothermal. Okay? So, well, when I say left out, he actually specified that geothermal would be one of the areas that you would leave the concessions on. Okay? Because they realize the potential. So that might have impetus for us here. Because what has happened in the past, apparently, is that they went for geothermal in areas that were pretty much easy to get at, where there were fissures in the ground and so on. Okay? Whereas the drilling techniques, the fracking techniques and so on that they've developed can actually penetrate rocks and do all sorts of things to make it more accessible from deeper down. So we can look forward. You can say we have an advantage, and it's to build on that now, since we're looking for alternatives. Really stop the talk. We had the money to invest in it. Maybe what the billions that we had before should have been plowed into something like that, and we would have been in a more advanced stage, right? But really and truly, we absolutely have to look at a different way of maintaining our standard of living, because if that goes, we really, and we have nothing to replace it with, we're really in trouble.
Okay.
Okay, then.
All right. Brand.
Well, the caller raised a few important areas that we need to consider. He spoke about the success in Turks and Caicos and Bermuda as it relates to their tourism and financial services. He also spoke about the perhaps changing our strategy, so to speak, and carve out a different niche as it regards to offering a new product. You went on to ask a question, Webbo, whether we have done as well as we could have in the last, I think it was 50 or 60 years. What I find, Webbo, and what I realize is that all of the Caribbean countries are, in my mind, competing for the same, perhaps, investment dollar. That's one. But the point I want to zero in, Webbo, is that every single time these Caribbean countries carve out a niche, the global power, so to speak, always seems to come up with something that create this stumbling block in their way. I just read to you a move now by the EU in terms of the possibility of removing or creating this visa requirement to persons who are participating in the citizenship by investment. We have seen that struggle over the many years, Webbo. We have seen it in sugar, where the Caribbean countries basically sought to be the main producers of sugar for, quote unquote, our former I didn't want to say it, but you say our former countries that once ruled these territories. We have seen it in cricket, where the dominance of the West Indies were met with these changes in laws and regulation and so on that govern cricket. We have seen how we have benefited from the citizenship by investment, and over the many years, where we continue to see the kind of obstacles and challenges that are being placed in the way of these countries. The competition, Webbo, for the same investment dollar throughout the region, and when these larger countries recognize that their citizens are sending their monies offshore to invest in these territories, they come up with some different kind of laws in their own territory that prevent them. So it has been a struggle. It has not been an easy process over the years, but I think, Webbo, that as these countries continue to try and carve out a niche for themselves, Nicola was right, for a while, because after a while there will be some kind of stumbling blocks placing their way. But he spoke about geothermal. I will leave that for the time being, because I don't necessarily agree with some of the things he said on that. But Webbo, I think that while we continue to seek to develop these countries, these islands, there is no doubt that the indigenous citizens, local, would play an important and critical role in the development of the country by investing locally, creating that expansion in the economy, creating the opportunity for jobs and an expansion in business, and also the direct foreign investment that we believe can also complement what the government is doing and what the local is doing to try and build these various economies.
Yeah, Webbo, I believe too that we probably have to basically sit down, do some soul searching, and to see various creative ways in which we can get revenue flowing. The caller spoke to Cayman Islands and Turks and Caicos and another country, Bermuda. And he spoke to tourism. As Mr. Brand said, most of the Caribbean countries, we basically compete for the same thing. Most of us are into tourism, and maybe one of the things that some of these islands have that we don't really have is the gateway, and I believe that the NIA currently they're in preparation mode in terms of getting a better gateway in terms of a better airport, a larger airport in terms of bigger aircrafts would be able to land at our airport and stuff. And if this is to materialize, I want to believe that we would see uptick in the arrival of passengers. So that, I think, although we are competing for the same basic pie, piece of the pie, I believe our portion would become a bit bigger, and more revenue we would yield more revenue and get more revenue into the treasury. So that is one basic area. I know sometimes it is bandied about, for want of a better term, that we basically our niche is high-end tourism. We prefer the sleepover and stuff like that. But I'm not going to say much about that, and I also know that there were a number of small, there are a number of small hotels, and and maybe if we can get them vibrant again. Some would have been out of operation for a number of years. The Zetlands, the Old Manor, these the Nisbets. These are hotels that once operate and once were buoyant hotels. And persons would have been gainfully employed and stuff like that in these particular hotels. So I believe that every little hotel, cottage industry, would have their particular, clientele, and we have to do some more marketing. I believe. I want to believe that, marketing is a key component of anything we do. Marketing, advertising, is very important, and we are to maybe look at that, the way that we market ourselves, probably the market itself, who we are appealing to, are they getting the message? If they are getting the message, are they getting the message the way that we want them to get the message?
Anybody ever heard of a policy or strategy where people argue in the islands, all of the islands, that the so-called natives or locals, some of them have real good money, as Edric would say, some of them are loaded.
Yes.
And sometimes some people have the view that if you can get some local people together, for instance, and build a hotel, right? Because they can maybe bring the resources. That's how the Bank of Nevis was formed.
That's right.
Right? That's how the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union was formed. And every time I interview the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, I'm very impressed and I'm proud. But I keep asking, so how can we replicate a lot more of these things? And perhaps it can come to what I said earlier. There is strong evidence that you have a lot of laws and everything. In business you call red tape. And the laws are made like that, and everywhere in the world you hear, Trump and them have loosened a lot of red tape because they say a hindrance is to business. But it seems to me that in some of the islands they want to make sure they have those to keep back who they would like to keep back. And then when somebody comes now who they would like to go forward, they move the red tape. Brian, you think I'm saying things that people say quietly, right? most people wouldn't say these things aloud like me. But I got one talk. Same thing.
You use the word red tape. I believe that the laws were put in place to assist the development of the country, and sadly, unfortunately, they often try to, in the implementation of them, they try to, or it have the effect of one creating a bottleneck sometime in the system, and it sometimes frustrate people, and it frustrates persons to the extent where should they hand up in the air and say, I'm not bothering with this.
You all make amendments to laws all the time?
Yeah.
Okay, and most of the time you would agree is for outside business operators?
Not necessarily. It's to try and
work with me.
Yes.
Most of the times, those laws, what you call financial services stuff.
Well,
right.
Financial services mostly geared towards is a kind of foreign offshore kind of activity.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I'm just asking questions,
yes.
you know. And what I'm saying is, if we look at the evidence and the data to see over the past X number of years, how many laws we have amended, and see what they entail. Again, I don't apologize for it, but now I say, as Edric Stanley will say, are you following me?
I'm following you.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, as you spoke just now about people who are loaded with money locally, we have to ask ourselves, why haven't the stock exchange in the sub-region flourished? And there seems to be a reluctance to put those loads of money into the local economy. Local meaning the sub-region, right? But there are two aspects which I think we could consider. One is, why, after all this time, I am sure, as was pointed out just now, why they couldn't come together and get a hotel going. I am sure by now we know the hospitality part of the tourism inside out. There is no reason why we can't invest in a cruise ship, a cruise line, lease a ship and run it. I am sure in the sub-region we have all the personnel who can do that. There are billions of dollars in the industry that we just watch and leave to our larger countries, the bigger countries up north or Europe, all those cruise lines. Billions of dollars. And then they use our sun, sea, and sand and everything else to make money from it.
Caller, you would agree that we have had a lot of those entities of our own. Liat, Kana, I don't know what else come to mind at this time, but
the difference is those what you just called there, like Liat, the airline, that is highly technical and highly complex.
So walk with me. When I hear us talk, tell me which nation in the world have more brilliant people than us. When I say us, I mean the Caribbean.
I don't know.
So what you're talking about, these things are highly technical, as if it is so difficult for bright people.
Well, it hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
Every time it has failed.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, for a cruise line, a big part of a cruise line is essentially running a hotel on sea. Yes, there's the technical part of it, of course, okay, but a big part of it is running a hotel on the sea. And I'm saying that we've just ceded all this money to our neighbors, to our big neighbors up north, okay, and they're using our resources, so to speak. It's time.
So why is that so, you think?
Well, I don't think that people have decided to come together to do something like that.
And why not?
Maybe they feel that they can't compete with those huge cruise lines. But they are small cruise lines.
But we're brighter than them too. No?
It's not happening. They look at those small cruise lines that go to Nevis. You mean to tell me we can't have one of that and run it properly?
So that's what I'm asking. What do you think? Why not?
I don't. Well, for one thing, just like how people are scared to go into the stock market here, okay? They don't see the possibility of them. I don't think they think big enough to think they can venture into something like that. They feel that that's best left to those out there to take the risk, etc. When in fact, we could have done the same thing. I don't know the reason why, for instance, the federal boats failed, right? Why we decided to give them up. But I think it's an idea worth resuscitating, right? You know, we should be able to control. We failed in the air, yes. Let's try the sea. And I wouldn't say we fail in the air either, because most of the airlines running are local right now, are local. Okay? So I wouldn't say it's an abject failure. But we know for sure that hundreds of thousands of people are attracted to cruising. We have what they want in terms of destinations, different destinations close by. We should not cede control of that to North America. We should be able
Caller, I think Mr. Brand would like to engage you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the caller a question. He spoke about the stock market and the reluctance of persons from the region to get involved in the stock market. Why do you think that is the case? Do you feel that there is a lack of confidence in the economies of the region? What do you prescribe that to?
Well, for one thing, there have been some big-time losses in terms of people investing their hard-earned money into things like I'm thinking of Bico and
yes.
and right.
Yes.
Okay. They've been burned.
Yes.
That's certainly one of the reasons. I mean, if you've been burnt like that, you're reluctant to get involved in something similar, in investing similar. And of course, there's this. I think we don't have an example in the region of. Well, put it this way, a success story in that area. It's very hard to encourage people to get into something like that. Right? I think that's probably the reason. Yeah.
So you think the confidence level is not where it should be?
Confidence level is low. Okay. Even the financial education level among the general populace, I think, is low. They don't think in terms. They don't think long term, for sure. A lot of people do not think long term, and so they're not going to invest their money in something.
And so you think it's necessary for us to think long term?
Something like this, yeah.
Right. And okay. And you think that we're making enough strides and fast enough to accomplish that?
Not fast enough. what they call the new initiative to where $1,000 the youth were given $1,000 or young people is given $1,000 to invest in different things. That to me is a good start, and it is accompanied by financial education. What do you call that program again?
Yes, I don't remember the name,
Yeah,
but I know what you mean. I think
Right,
it's a good idea.
That's a good start, okay? But it's going to take time for people to see the benefit, right? And so, I mean, I think what we're looking at right now is what we can leverage right now to get why a portion of the CBI money that all the 5 countries have can't go to work starting a regional cruise line. To me, there is no reason why not.
Okay.
And there's one other thing that I thought about, our relationship with Taiwan. For the 40 whatever years it is of independence, they have been looking more at things like agriculture, training our students. That is mostly what we get from them. They're a big manufacturing giant. You can't tell me that some one of their companies over there, if we really leverage our relations with them, redirect it to at least get some kind of manufacturing plant here. It just takes one, you know, to bring them here, to build something straight off the bat. Solar panels. Also, there's no reason, if you look at our topography, we, I think, would be one of the good prospects to test an electric vehicle, because we're essentially flat, okay? And there are lots of small island developing states who have a similar topography. When you think of electric cars right now, they're thinking in terms of the metropolitan countries which want a lot of mileage and so on. We don't. Most small island states don't. There's no reason why you can develop a niche electric car to use on small island developing states.
Okay.
Right? You got your scale there right away. Right? So, you know, things like that I'm saying. If you really go after something like that, there's no reason why it can't come to fruition. I'm thinking anyway.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good.
Webbo.
Yes.
Yes, Webbo, you spoke to, or you would have said that some persons are loaded in money, and you were wondering why they can't come together like the Cooperative Credit Union and the Bank of Nevis. Webbo, I want to believe that there are some that might be loaded, but the vast majority of St. Kitts Nevis, our citizens, are not loaded. And I believe one of the hindrances is that the way we were brought up.
But for this, work with me. But this kind of investment, though, you don't want, everybody don't have to be loaded.
Exactly.
Right.
In America, only one man buying the election right now.
But
you agree with that? Huh?
Yes, I hear you.
So everybody don't have to be loaded for certain things to take place.
Right.
Okay.
I understand. But the point that I'm trying to make, Webbo, how we were brought up. We were basically brought up, you know, the teachings is that, you know, we must save and we must save. And sometimes one wonder how much a person need to save. Instead of probably saving, we probably need to invest more. And I must applaud the federal government, you know, in the initiative that they made a few months ago in terms of, you know, giving, I think, the same $1,000 that
the Aspire program.
Right, that the caller alluded to, you know, in terms of for young persons, you know, to invest. And this, I believe that, you know, our mindset with continuous financial education. If we were to invest, so maybe one of the reasons to Webbo is that, maybe we are not risk takers. We are afraid to take risks, and we know in business, if we want to be successful, we have to take risks, and the bigger the risk, the more successful, we could be. Of course, if there's failure, we understand that, but you have to go into business, being optimistic, being positive, and as risk takers. Some may not want to go in because they don't have the particular skill set or the knowledge of that, but they have the monies, and so it comes back to the risk. You have the monies, you have the resources, you invest, you have probably the time, if you have the knowledge, and you have the time. These are things that you have to be able to put to the table, and maybe we are not willing to do that, and maybe hence the reason why we are not coming together as a people to invest and probably come up with similar ventures, like the Bank of Nevis and the Cooperative Credit Union, albeit in different aspects and not necessarily in banking. So I just wanted to probably give that input.
Well, I honestly can't say exactly why, quote unquote, these many persons who have been said who are loaded have not necessarily come together to implement various business ventures. But the last caller spoke about the BICO British American situation, and I was curious to know exactly why he felt why perhaps, for example, the Caribbean Stock Exchange, there is not as much activity at that level. And it could be right. It could be that there is that level of mistrust or confidence in these systems in the region. I think that there are quite a number of persons who would have hurt extremely deeply over the BICO and the British American situation, and that has not necessarily inspired much confidence in the region. We have also seen the struggles, so to speak, of LEAT for many years. I have always felt that if LEAT were functioning at the level that I feel that it could have functioned, then I believe that the landscape of the Caribbean could have been much different. We now have a number of different airlines that are now filling in those gaps, so to speak, that LEAT have left, and it is creating some activities in the various islands. We just spoke about the airport project that we are embarking on here in the island of Nevis, and the reality is it is a critical component for the development of Nevis. If we are really serious about developing our economy, we need to be able to move people from point A to Nevis, removing a lot of the obstacles and hurdles and so on for them to get here. I am envisioning that once that airport is at the level that I think it can be, then I believe we will see even greater activities in the economy. You spoke about a number of hotels that have been offline now for a number of years. Nisbet's, it is Golden Rock. Those have been properties that have created in the past numerous employment and numerous level of activity here on the island of Nevis. And I think that for us to really see the kind of or to bring back those hotel properties, they are going to take some level of investment, one, and I believe that there must be that level of ease of access into the island. Yes, we have RLB, but I think that if we are to really carve out a niche for ourselves, I believe that the airport will play a critical component in that development trust that we are seeking. The caller spoke about Caribbean countries getting involved in cruise ships and so on. It all sound good, but our people are willing to take that kind of risk that we spoke about. You spoke about the investment risk and the possible returns on your investment. All of those are areas, and I think that our people, for some reason, perhaps their investment confidence level perhaps is not what it ought to be, what it can be. And I think at the end of the day, when we are trying to bring development to the country, a lot of the times it is heavily skewed, so to speak, towards foreign investment. I believe that all of us recognize that there are a number of persons on these small islands who have some monies, and there is no if, no maybe about that. There are persons who have significant wealth in these islands, but there is that level of hesitation to make serious investment. Why? I am not sure.
I wanted gentlemen to mention also that just a little encouragement to the law officers, because it appears that we have gone maybe 6 months without a recorded homicide. Mm-hmm. Now, when we are 2 per month and these record figures, we blame the law officers a lot. And I believe that where goes the glory must also go the shame, and flip it to say where goes the shame must also go the glory. So, well, you never can tell. Maybe you can talk now and then, something. But at the very least, since we come down hard on them when the thing seems to be out of control, we just gotta say now some encouragement to them to continue working hard to keep us safe. So both in St. Kitts and Nevis, so all of the law officers and all who have anything to do with our security and safety, I'd just like to give that a bit of encouragement in terms of the stint that we've gone without that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, Webbo, I believe, as you rightfully say, where goes the shame, goes the glory. And, I want to say kudos to all of us. When I say all of us, I mean the government, because the government too, would get some backlash when they are killings, when they are murders. So I want to say kudos to the government, kudos to law enforcement on a whole. And I especially want to say, Webbo, kudos to the residents of St. Kitts Nevis. No matter what policies the government put in place, no matter what law enforcement tries to do, there are some unscrupulous persons. But I believe, Webbo, that we are now maturing, we are now growing, and we are now finding ourselves, and we are now recognizing that to kill each other is not the way. Hence the reason why I'm saying kudos to all of us. All of us have that particular part to play, from the home our parents, we as individuals, our teachers, our leaders in society, our political leaders, our ministers of government, our ministers of religion, you know, the defense force, the police, you know, CASPA, NASPA, customs, you know, everyone, you know, and the layman, I believe all of us must be commended for, as I said, our maturity, our understanding, our growth, in recognizing that when we kill each other, we are taking steps backward. When we do not have these killings, you would find that, in my opinion, I'm not sure if it has been proven, but in my opinion, people would be able to go out more freely. When people go out more freely, people tend to spend more. People go to parties more. People go to the bars. People even go to the rum shops. People go to the night events, the promenades. They have promenades now? The promenades, they dance, the clubs, and they have a good time. When they do that, they are spending. The money is, you know, is turning over, you know, is circulating, and I believe that the economy will just become more buoyant. And I want to say kudos to all of us.
Webbo, you put a very important matter on the table when it comes to the place where we are at this point when it comes to a major problem that we have been experiencing here in St. Kitts and Nevis over the last 20 plus years. We are witnessing, Webbo, a level of peace, a level of calm. The fear level in my mind have subsided significantly, and I join with you, Webbo, in tipping our hats to the police, because I believe that from all quarters, right from this rostrum, we have sought to impress upon them to get what we are now experiencing, or get to the point where we are now at. I agree with Roger that while we...
Brian, just let me take this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to the panelists. And good evening, public. Yeah. Webbo, I don't know if you noticed or I noticed it, but I noticed that Mr. Brand and Mr. Fifield talking about trying to get people who are citizens by investment to come in and invest. And I'm here thinking, well, is there any wonder that the US and the European community trying to crack on that program, because by its very name, it's citizen by investment. And it's only get the citizenship and they don't invest. I would have had a problem with that too. And I believe therein lies the problem. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. I don't know if the caller is suggesting that they invested already. That's why they became citizens.
maybe that's what he suggested.
And then, in that same thing, what we have to do in the end is make sure that that investment we use wisely.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, 20 years down the line, unless you're going to continue to have citizens added all the time, and as some person is suggesting now, do we need to cut back or something like that and so on? So it's interesting. I think one person who had called earlier might have suggested that, or was it you, Mr. Brand? Somebody had mentioned earlier that we don't think long term.
I think what the caller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Brand.
The point I was trying to make is that we have sat here and from many quarters throughout the Federation call upon the police to do their very best to try and arrest the situation. It has been a long-standing cry from the citizens, and we are now experiencing, in my mind, a sense of peace, a sense of calm in the Federation. And I am hoping, Webbo, that yes, we have gone 6 months, as you indicated. I am hoping that we can go through 2025 without us having to deal with any murders here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It has been...
Mr. Brown, let's take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding. I'm coming back to you.
Yeah, one last intervention. Have you noticed that once the police detection rate went up, that the murder stopped? There was a string of arrests that showed that the police were making a lot of headway in terms of who was doing the shooting. And I think that contributed immensely to that. That, as well as there was a real outrage when that little kid died, was shot in St. Kitts, as he just happened to be on the scene, I guess. Right? The murder down in the New Ground area. Mm-hmm. There was a real outrage that a small child was involved. And I think that did something to galvanize everybody into thinking, look, man, this is absolutely out of hand now. It's one thing when big people who can't settle arguments going after each other. But when innocents become involved, that is when there was collective outrage. So, yeah, kudos to everybody involved, from the government to the police to the ordinary citizen, right? And the thing about it is that maybe it was just a few people causing the mayhem, right? There was obviously some kind of leadership structure inside there. It wasn't just random, in my opinion, okay? And whatever it took to stop that, right? It's nice that it seemed to have stopped, and let's hope it continues. All right.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brand, go ahead.
Well, I thought that the approach, the all of society type approach, helped to some great extent. The caller highlighted the fact that one of our last murder was a child, 9 or 10 years old. That in fact did raise a level of awareness in the Federation that this thing needs to stop. And I think that the police would have done their part. I believe that the government would have done their part. The various businesses would have lend their support. We call upon our schools, our churches, ordinary folk in the society. And I think that the broad spectrum of the people across St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe, got to a point and indicated that, listen, this thing needs to end. I am hoping that it is the end. I am hoping that we can go through this year and next year and the following year, where this can be a distant reflection in our mirror. I think that losing our young men and our young women in the prime of their lives, early 20s, early 30s, I believe that it robs the nation of some of our most productive citizens. It creates that sense of bewilderment in families where these young individuals are taken away from us. And I think that it would have had this kind of shocking impact on our various communities and society. I am hoping that, Webbo, that it is behind us. I am praying that it is. And of course, I agree with you that the police should be commended. I think that also every single citizen in this country also should be commended. The government, society at large. And I think, Webbo, at the end of the day, once this issue can be behind us, Roger alluded to the fact that the level of activity within the country, where persons are feeling that level of comfort and confidence to go excuse me, to go out and partake in other various kind of activities is a good thing for the country. So, Webbo, I join with you, and I want to say that I am hoping and praying that this would be something that will be lasting. I'm hoping that it is not something that is temporary, but I'm hoping that it is something that will be permanent here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes, Webbo, Brian, yes. As we speak to the police, and we congratulate them, Webbo, I want to further applaud them. I think it was some weeks ago they had a constable award ceremony, right, at Penny's, the Malcolm Gishard.
You were the chairman.
And but what I'm saying, we have to find ways, to give incentives, because oftentimes people don't understand that to provide security at the level that the police are providing, that it doesn't only take a toll physical on them, but also a mental toll on them. And it is really nice that the High Command, Commissioner Sutton and the others, and of course our superintendent here and divisional officer Alan Zakati, would have find it, good that they would have continue this constable awards ceremony. I think that it's in its 17th year, and I believe that little things like this would give rise to motivation, would motivate the officers to go out and put out their best, put their best foot forward, not just because they want to probably be or to receive that #1 award, but because it's just an additional extra incentive for you to go and do what you're supposed to do. And I believe that once this is kept up, we are going to see the police really continuing to do what they are supposed to be doing in terms of protecting all of us. So I just wanted to say kudos, and to keep up the good works, from the commissioner come right down to the constables, and vice versa.
Well, while we're on the police, I also recognize that they have sought to quote unquote expand their community policing efforts, where they would have sought to go out into the community and build that level of trust and confidence with the various communities. I believe that fighting crime can only be successful with the participation of the community. By nature, policing is to, in the first instance, try and deter crime. and in the eventuality of any criminal activity, there depends on the community to try and gather that necessary information. So I recognize that they have continued that effort of community policing. I'm hoping that it can continue to build that partnership with the various communities and strengthen that relationship with the community, and the community themselves can feel a level of ease, so to speak, with working and cooperating with the police. And whenever there is a need for passing on information or sharing information, that persons in the community will not hesitate to do so. So I want to encourage that. It's something that I support. It's something that I feel that once done right, and once that level of trust and confidence is strengthened between the police and the community, we will be able to continue to see a reduction in crime. So I think some of these activities are, in my mind, steps in the right direction. And I think at the end of the day, police, community, and various social partners can continue to work together to make St. Kitts and Nevis again, because we had that acclamation many years ago, the freest nation on earth. And with crime and criminal activity, I think we have lost that, but I'm hoping that in short order we can once again reclaim that.
So who's got the last word? That's the last word? If I feel you want me to tell you what to say for the last word, invite people or remind people about your camp.
Yes, Webbo, thanks for the opportunity again. Webbo, I want to encourage all and sundry, especially those who would have registered for the Jerry and Ursula Fifield Easter Memorial Camp. The deadline would have gone, so please, if you have forms, please bring them in. You can bring them in to myself, Roger Fifield, Rasmond Fifield, Charissa Fifield, or any of the Fifield clan, Anelta Fifield, Burke, Gilletta Fifield, Morton, any one of us, and we'll be happy to accept them. You could also give them to Sanja, Hobson, Siando, any one of us, and we'll be grateful to accept them. We also encouraging persons to give of their time, give of their financial give financially, and we'll greatly appreciate it. We are also inviting you to come down to Huggins Bay and see what we are doing. Our camp start Wednesday the 16th of April and ends on the 21st, Monday the 21st of April. And we are inviting all and sundry. The opening ceremony would be on the Thursday 17th at 6 p.m. and all are invited. Our big sports day is on the Sunday, which is the 20th, and all are invited. Once again, thank you again, Webbo, for this opportunity, and we are happy that persons would have trusted us with in the care of their children to send them out in our care, and we endeavor to do our best to take care of them. Thank you again, Webbo. Have a good night, all. May God bless us.
Good night.
So that's the last word. This program, get this, repeats tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So make sure you note that change. This program repeats tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening for Government at Work, a place that you can spend all of your evenings right here on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse. Again, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.